What's going on, everybody? This is Jeff with Living in Arizona, and today we are doing a live feed. For those of you who are planning to move to Arizona, it's a Q&A. You guys keep asking me, hey, next time you're live, let us know this and that. So that's what this is about. If you're also trying to tune into these live so that you can ask the question to myself or another community member in our Living in Arizona community on Facebook or here on YouTube, go ahead and turn on that bell and you'll get notified when we do these videos so you can actually actively participate with us when we're live. In case you're wondering, yes, this is a Bitcoin hat. Some people were asking if I invest in Bitcoin, and yes, I do. Trump recently tweeted about Bitcoin, and Steve Mnuchin also talked about Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies today. And they said it's a technology and they're going to let a fair playing field. So that's why I wear the Bitcoin hat today. Anyway, if you're new to this channel, you can subscribe. We talk about things to know about living in Arizona, planning to move to Arizona, and what to do when you get here. Okay, so first and foremost, I will say this. This is the harshest time to be in Arizona right now, the middle of summer. It is July 15th. If there is any time that is a really difficult time to live in Phoenix, Arizona, it is during the summer. And right now it is hovering this week between 110 degrees and 115 degrees. And that is wicked hot. Here it is, 4 o'clock. I've gone outside a couple times, but I mean, it's pretty hot. Say hello to my cat's tail. Okay. So thank you to everyone who's been crushing up the like button. We have 4 likes and 13 people watching. So thank you for doing that. So what can you do to stay cool in the event of a hot summer, right? That's what's important right now. What are some things that I'm able to do? Well, my house, for example, I have those blacked out screens. That's really important. If you don't have blacked out screens, get shutters or something, because your power bill in July is going to be the highest it's going to be all year. I mean, in June, I was averaging 150. Right now, I'm averaging about 250. I mean, like I go from, because SRP, that's the power company out here. You either have SRP or APS, Arizona Public Power Service, or Salt River Project Power Service. I have SRP. They have an app. It tells you how much you're spending per day and what your estimated bill is. I'm about around $10 to $11 a day, but I know people out there who are paying sometimes up to $400 to $600 for a bigger house if you have a 2-story house. So you've taken the necessary steps to get the blackout shutters or any sort of blackout screen can really save you some money and some hassle. Also, when you're parking your car right now, if I was to step out of my house and go to my car right now, it's going to be really hot. Like, I'm going to be like, oh man. So you want to make sure you got a good car with an AC. Okay. This whole, I've been driving with no AC and my windows don't even roll down, but it's a great car. That's not going to work here in Arizona. You're going to be in a living hell when you're on the freeways. In Arizona, that's another thing. You're going to be driving a ton when you're out here. I mean, everything is so spread out. Like where I live, in order to get to anywhere kind of recreational, I've got to drive. The 2 things to do where I live, because it's such a new town out here in Santan Valley, go to Walmart or go to Fry's. I mean, seriously, it's kind of ridiculous. I'm going to answer some questions. I'm going to go back through. You guys are asking a lot of questions and I see them, but let me go ahead and stick to the curriculum of what the video is going to be about, and then we'll roll into that. So some other things to know about living in Arizona. What kind of clothes are you going to wear? Where to get the good deals, how to save money mostly, and where to find the work, right? Because when you get here, you're going to need to work. My advice to you, if you're going to get a job, try to find a house right there next to it. If you're moving here for the first time, you've never lived here, try not to buy a house the very first second you get here. I mean, that should apply anywhere, but I mean, you want to make sure that you actually enjoy Phoenix, and you want to probably go through a full winter and a full summer, because if you can tolerate the extreme cold, because it does get below freezing, 32 degrees in the winter, and then the summer it's going to get 110, 115, sometimes 120. So you're going to want to prepare for that. So another thing you can do when it's really hot to escape the heat, find some places in the high country, because we're talking areas above 5,000 feet, which is a mile high, like Denver. But you have places like that, sometimes 7,000 feet, 8,000 feet. And those are great escapes and retreats while you're living in Phoenix to go up there to the high country. In Tucson, they have Mount Lemmon. A lot of people that I know in Tucson right now are going camping 4 or 5 days up in Mount Lemmon just to get out of the heat for a little bit. Also, another thing to keep in mind, since you're probably trying to decide, do I want to go to Tucson or Phoenix? Tucson's cooler. Tucson is like right now, for example, Arizona's or Phoenix is 110, Tucson's 105. Okay, so also another thing that's happening in Tucson that's not happening here. Tucson's getting the monsoon pretty much every single night. Phoenix not getting the monsoon. So I personally look forward to the monsoon. That is one of my favorite times of the year. I don't mind the heat, especially at the end of the day when you get a monsoon rain. Phoenix not getting monsoon rain. Why is that? Well, for many years they've speculated that because Phoenix is so big, it's so sprawled out, that the radiation from the concrete and the pavement actually has stopped the or has created this like radiation atmospheric pressure that blocks the monsoon from building up and coming in. So that's why you'll see it everywhere else except for in Phoenix. Last summer, 2018, was the strongest monsoon Phoenix had seen for a while. This year, monsoon is no-show. It hasn't shown up, and they're even predicting that it's going to be the hottest summer we've had in a long time, and it has been hot. I mean, I'm telling you. Now, it's one of those creeper heats. You go out there, you're like, oh, it feels like an oven. Well, there's no humidity, so you're out there in it, and then after about 10 minutes in it, you're like, ooh, hot, hot, hot. It's like that. You walk outside, you go step on the flagstone or step on the pavers, you can't even walk on it. It's so hot it could cook an egg. Like my backyard, the pavers in my backyard are so hot they could cook an egg. So anyways, guys, smash up the likes. We've got 10 of them. We've got 30 people viewing. We're going to get this thing moving here. And I'm going to answer some questions. So I've got some other things to talk about as this video goes along that are part of the curriculum, but let's field some questions because there's a lot. When are you going to make a trip to Tucson for a video, says Ted. I don't have any plans to go to Tucson right now we do need to get some Tucson footage, but I don't have any plans to go down to Tucson, although it would be nice to get down there. So thanks, Ted, for that question. What are your thoughts on moving to Flagstaff from Ohio? It seems to have similar weather. How are the winters? So Flagstaff and Ohio, you can't compare it because Ohio is low elevation. It's right there on the lakes. Flagstaff is at a different altitude. So the air is thinner in Flagstaff than it would be in Ohio. So it's not really comparable. It's colder in Flagstaff than Phoenix because it's higher elevation. So we're in Ohio, it's just because of higher latitude, longitude coordinates, right? It's just higher up there on the sphere. Sorry if I offended any flat earth people out there. Just kidding. I do have some flat earth people out there who are saying something about flat earth. They're the same type of people who are going to storm Area 51, which is kind of funny. But anyways, so Ohio to Flagstaff, I think that it is comparable, but it's probably not as similar as you think it is. It's actually quite different. But there are going to be some similarities. Just bear in mind, the altitude is going to be something, people get altitude sickness because of the thin air, but it's something you can get acclimated to. Good safe spaces with a lot of desert scenery. I'm looking in Oro Valley and others, says Head Karma. Head Karma, that's a really good question. And I wanted to say this during the video. Some of you guys have been talking about a fear of wildlife. You're worried that there's going to be a bobcat coming into your backyard. You're worried that there's going to be a mountain lion in your backyard. You're worried that there's going to be a coyote trying to take your house pet, a cat, a small dog. Phoenix doesn't have that kind of abundance of wildlife like Tucson. Now, personally, I like wildlife. Tucson is a really great place. That Santa Catalina Mountains area right there in Tucson is loaded with wildlife. Most of these, there's wildlife up here in Phoenix. Okay, there's wildlife up there in the Superstition Mountains and in North Phoenix, North Scottsdale, all that. But Tucson is where you want to be for that wildlife scenery. Since you're asking about Oro Valley is going to have great desert scenery. Really beautiful. I mean, some of the top desert scenery in all of Arizona you can probably get in North Scottsdale, Oro Valley, Gold Canyon, Cave Creek, Carefree, Anthem. Outside of that, it's all going to be like the valley areas. Also, you can get some pretty good desert scenery around Camelback Mountain, but it's so built up over there, it's just like the city. So I don't know if you want to call the city desert scenery. I mean, Papago Park looks like desert, but it's right there in the heart of the city. I mean, you got jumbo jets flying into Sky Harbor and all that. Do you ever get color tired of colors theme. What do you mean by color theme? Good, safe. Okay, so the San Pedro Valley is near Tucson, is cooler, but still hot right now. It's higher elevation, and there are tons of mountains in the area, plus the mountains in Tucson area are close. Okay, yeah, see, you have to keep in mind that even though it's cooler up in Flagstaff, it's still hot in Flagstaff. I think Flagstaff can get up to like upper 90s to 100 degrees. Some of the places like Payson, I mean, it can get pretty hot even in the high altitude areas. When Phoenix is smoldering, it's only sometimes 10 to 20 degrees difference in the high country. So it's just you get more extreme winters in the high country. Prescott, Flagstaff, and some of these other places like Payson. That's a great place to check out if you're kind of like, well, I checked out Flagstaff, it's okay. I checked out Prescott, it's okay. Any other options? Check out Payson. Payson's a good option for you. I don't know necessarily if too many people would be a big fan of Show Low or Eager or Springerville, but those are higher elevation. People trying to move to Kingman, I don't know why they would try to move to Kingman. Straight up, if you're trying to move to Kingman, I would say go there first before you really fall in love with Kingman. I mean, it's close to Bullhead City, which is close to Laughlin, but even then, Bullhead City and Laughlin, that's hotter than Phoenix. It looks like it's got some potential. It's right there on the Colorado River. Some Eastern Arizona videos would be good too, mainly just talking about south of Tucson. There are some beautiful places in Eastern Arizona, and I've got to go out there with my drone and all that, and I plan to do that. But I've been working. I do have a main job, and when I make these videos, I do these after my main job. So part of the reason why I haven't been able to get to all these places is because work has been really busy. But I do plan to go to Eastern Arizona and Northern Arizona. I just posted in our group, Living in Arizona. You can join that group on Facebook. I'll post a link right here, actually. But I posted a picture today of the Monument Valley. Monument Valley is a great place. That's up in the Navajo Nation. The problem is it's on the Navajo Nation. So if you do something bad, you're going to be subject to the Navajo Nation laws. Thanks to everyone who crushed up the likes. By the way, we already got 17 likes and 50 people watching. So that's pretty good. We're cranking this thing out there. I'm worried about the cartels being in my backyard. Okay, so you guys are worried about the southern border situation. Phoenix, as far as the southern border situation goes, I would say that honestly, Phoenix has seen worse times with crime from the cartels. There was a time when Bush was just leaving office. Actually, when Bush was in presidency, that's when Phoenix had reached its peak. Phoenix and Tucson. Phoenix was actually the kidnapping capital of I think they said either the kidnapping capital of America or the kidnapping capital of the world. To be the kidnapping capital of the world would be crazy, but that was all fueled by the drug trade, because the cartels, you have to understand, are a problem because they're operating in an illegal capacity. They're doing things that are like they're smuggling drugs and they're operating in that realm. That's just most Mexican people out here are really good people you're going to encounter. They're going to be very friendly to you and everything's going to get along. But unfortunately, because the cartels are so strong, they have like a stronghold. It's kind of like, it's a big thing. And they were affecting the state of Arizona pretty bad in the southern border area, probably around the Bush presidency, a little bit in the Obama. And since the last couple of years, it's really toned down a lot. I don't know if that's because of the president now, but it's a lot safer now than it was. I will say that. We still have plenty of Mexicans here, but we just have less cartel activity. And the cartels, it's a lot more than just, oh, well, if you stay out of the drug game, you'll be okay. You won't be affected. It's a lot more than that, because what ends up happening is they pour out into other areas. There's crime at like robberies. There's murders that take place where they just get, just for random murders of people and robberies and stuff like that. So the cartels did affect, but it's not as bad as it used to be. So I wouldn't worry too much about the cartels. And I would say that whoever's doing their job, the Border Patrol or Washington, D.C., they've cleaned up Arizona pretty good. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. Now, if you live in certain areas, there could be problems with the cartels or crime, but more in central Phoenix and Glendale, Maryvale, Tolleson, stay out of those areas. Go to the suburbs and you'll be okay. Gilbert, Chandler, Mesa. Mesa's kind of dangerous. Peoria is pretty safe in the West Valley. Buckeye's pretty safe. But Central Phoenix is kind of where the cartels and the problems hang out if you're really worried about that. Moving from Chicago. I've seen a lot of people moving from Chicago. Why is everyone leaving Chicago? We're going to have a lot of Cubs fans at the spring training game. So if you're thinking about moving here, we have the spring training in March. All the baseball teams, well, half the baseball teams come here, or the other half go to the Grapefruit League in Florida. So you're going to have the Cubs out here in Mesa, and all the Cubs games get sold out. I think it's because all these people from Chicago are moving to Phoenix. Everyone's always saying, oh, well, the Californians are moving to Arizona, this and that. Well, I think the people from Chicago are moving to Arizona, actually. Let's see. I'm not interested in moving to AZ, but I like to watch these videos anyway. Okay, Andrew, that's cool. You're welcome, Michelle. She said that she appreciates the time. Where do you reside? Seattle. And he said, what's the job market for IT jobs? IT is picking up. Phoenix is recruiting people from Silicon Valley, companies in particular, to move their factories, their plants, their corporate offices to Phoenix, where I've noticed that the IT jobs are really picking up right next to Arizona State University in Tempe. You know how Silicon Valley has Stanford right next door, where they kind of recruit IT people out of Stanford to work in Silicon Valley, and then you have Google and Facebook and all the big players out there on Amphitheater Way and all that, and Palo Alto and stuff. They're doing that same kind of thing, it appears, at Arizona State University in Tempe, because I saw a lot of these digital technology companies establishing along Rio Salado. So you'll go down to downtown Phoenix, you won't see a lot of the tech companies. You see more of the banks. Downtown Phoenix is more of the banking epicenter, whereas Tempe, it appears, Southeast Valley is turning into a IT hub. And it looks like it's only going to continue to pick up, especially as people leave California who work in tech to move to Arizona, and Phoenix in particular. Tucson doesn't have as much of a tech presence as Phoenix. If anything, Tucson's really known for aerospace and military. Like they have Lockheed Martin, some of these other aerospace companies out there down by Davis-Monthan in Tucson. So Tucson's more of a military town for technology. Phoenix is more of a IT kind of place with a bit of finance and some other stuff thrown in there. Construction's a big industry in Phoenix. Jeff, thanks for the update, because I'm in IT in Chicago and I've seen a lot of IT jobs, a lot up my alley. Yeah, I mean, we've got just research tech companies thinking about moving to Phoenix. So after this last winter in Chicago, want out of there. Okay, so more people. How many people are from Chicago? I mean, like, is everyone here from Chicago on this live feed? I think it's great. I mean, my dad was born in Chicago, but I was born here in Phoenix. But I apparently, I mean, everyone's like from Chicago these days. Not everyone, but there's a lot of you. Tucson has Raytheon, says Ted. Yeah, you're right. Remember a few winters ago, it was 40 below. That was my last winter. I was done. Oh, I heard about that. I think they were calling Chicago Siberia. Detroit. Okay. Detroit, Chicago. It's all the Great Lakes. So far on this live feed, it seems like, yeah, let us know where you're all watching from in the comments. But it seems like you guys are saying you're from Ohio, Chicago, so a lot of the Midwest is moving here to Phoenix. It's interesting. I don't see anyone saying they're from California. So if you're a local here in Arizona complaining about Californians moving here, it's the Midwesterners who are moving here. Okay, so you got Eastern Long Island. That's New York. That's almost New England, right? Montana, California, Western Pennsylvania, Los Angeles. Okay, so we've got plenty of people coming from LA to here. So did you guys watch my previous live feed where I showed you around the garden, what can grow out here? That's all made possible even in the 110-degree temperatures because of shade. Shade is crucial out here. So let me talk about some things that you want to know that are just some interesting tidbits. So, we got the great scenery all across the state. We have some of the best wonders in the world, Monument Valley, Grand Canyon in the north, and then you've got some really beautiful, what I think is to be a natural wonder is the Sonoran Desert. The desert out here in some of these areas is teeming with wildlife, and it's abundant and it's beautiful. North Phoenix and northeast Tucson, just some great, mostly eastern Phoenix really is, anytime you go up in those mountains from east to north of Phoenix is teeming with beautiful wildlife, and that's the Sonoran Desert. So I think the deserts are really beautiful. We get some amazing sunsets and sunrises. We're talking cotton candy skies where it's pink, orange, and purple all in the same kind of color frame, and it's really beautiful sunsets out here. So that's pretty good because, you know, it'll be a hot day and then all of a sudden you'll get blessed with a beautiful sunset, right? Or a nice monsoon rain. And then so you have we have the northern high country, which is a really good thing to keep in mind. If you like food, we've got lots of different Mexican food cuisine that we have out here. And one of the things that's kind of popular, that wasn't so popular 20 years ago, but it's become pretty popular now, is a Sonoran hot dog. I hear a lot of people talking about Sonoran hot dogs. When I was a kid, you know, in the 90s, we weren't really too big on Sonoran hot dogs. What we were big on was tacos. Like going down to Rocky Point, they had these street tacos. You go to, you know, you get the handheld tacos. They didn't even have these here in the 90s. Those small tacos, they weren't selling them here in the 90s in Phoenix. I remember, but I'd go down to Rocky Point and they would have carne asada street tacos, and they were small, and we would eat those. And then those started to become popular here in Phoenix because of Mexico. You know, people going down to Mexico and being like, what are those? We need those. And so then you had taco trucks. But in the 90s, 80s, that wasn't really that wasn't too common. I mean, we still had the, you know, you'd hear the La Cucaracha. That was the Roach Coach, the car going around selling hot dogs and stuff out of it to the workers, or burritos. Yeah, chorizo burrito, of course. Arizona's music scene, you know, we were really popular in the 90s. A lot of people like music and going out. We have Country Thunder out in the East Valley, but in the 90s, we were really popular. We had you guys may have heard of the Gin Blossoms, Jimmy Eat World, the Meat Puppets, Alice Cooper Town. You know, we had a really big music scene presence in the 90s. It's kind of gone away. I want to say that they say here on this other website, Perfect Circle, Social Distortion, and Lincoln Park. I didn't know Lincoln Park was from Phoenix, but it's saying that here on this website. One thing that's kind of cool that is an anomaly here in Phoenix is we don't get daylight savings time. So, you know, like the rest of the country, they're like, okay, roll back the clocks, roll forward the clocks, you know, every 6 months. We don't do that here. So that's pretty good. Let's see here. What other information can I share with you that's going to be pretty cool? The art scene, for those of you who are into arts, we have the Bohemian art small town, a small Bohemian town. For those of you who are from Czech Republic, I have another channel called Island Hopper TV. I just recently posted a video on that channel from my travels through Prague and Czech Republic, riding the train from Berlin down to Vienna, going through Bohemia. So that's cool that to see that here in Arizona, that there's a Bohemian culture is good. And then there's the Renaissance Festival. We get a lot of these cool festivals probably from February to May, and then they don't pick back up again until October when the state fair happens. The state fair is really big. I mean, that thing just keeps getting more and more popular, the state fair. But you have many festivals in October, November, and then you get like the zoo does zoo lights in December and stuff like that. So the art scene, for those of you who are into that kind of stimulation in your life. We got they say that we have a new ager. I don't know about that, but it's not all about the mega cities. So there's more to it than just Phoenix and Tucson, right? And then you know, if you could say there was 4 big cities in Arizona that really stand out, you have Yuma, Flagstaff, Phoenix, Tucson. But as we've talked about, you have Prescott, you have Lake Havasu City, which if I had to choose between Lake Havasu City and Bullhead City, I would say neither. No, I'm just kidding. Bullhead City or Lake Havasu City, I would go with Lake Havasu. But they're both hot. And then, you know, Yuma, right? Because Yuma is right down there. But you talk to anyone from Yuma, they'll say, it is so damn hot down here. It is hot. We're talking hotter than Phoenix, okay, by 5 or 10 degrees sometimes. Lake Havasu City is going to be the same way as Yuma. Right there on that riverbank, it just heats up like no tomorrow. Thank you to all 28 of you who liked the video. We got 71 people. See, you guys liking the video helps get the video out there. We got 71 people tuning in. And like I said, if you guys are trying to keep up with these live feeds and you're not getting notified, you have to touch the bell. That way, when the bell goes off, then you know that you can tune in and you can ask the questions live. And it's not just going to be me making these videos. I'm the guy doing the videos right now, but at some point, we're going to have other people getting involved, like my brother, who's the real estate agent. I told him, I said, he don't have a choice. He's going to have to start filming more, and he's going to have to start making more videos and sharing information, because he's got a whole nother style of speaking about Arizona than I do. He's got a lot of great information, and I'm saying you got to share this with people, because people want to know this kind of stuff, and that's how they're going to appreciate, you know, the stuff they're getting on this channel. If you share with them more than just what Jeff knows. I mean, I'm always doing research though, so if he's not making videos, I'll be making videos. But yeah, he's a real estate agent. So just imagine all of that kind of stuff that he knows that I don't know about real estate and all that. Now, I'm trying to buy land. If I was to buy land in Arizona, there's two ways to look at buying land in Arizona, right? It's, do you want to buy land in the that you invest in, where the urban sprawl is going to come along and then say, hey, can I buy that land off you? You know, do you want to buy that kind of land? If you do, good places to check out are going to be like Casa Grande and Maricopa area. If you're looking to actually live on that land, I would say buy up in the foothills of Arizona where the wildlife is. But if you don't like wildlife, then you probably don't need to buy land in Arizona. Yeah. And if another cool idea for buying land, if that's your thing, is check out the high country like Payson, Strawberry, Pine Top, Lakeside, Prescott area, Yavapai, all that. Check out land up there, because you can build a cabin to escape to during the summer months, you know, and that could be pretty good. Just getting out there. I'm dropping a link to the group below, because a lot of you guys are asking about that group. So there's the link right there. I don't know how to pin the post. Thank you, John Mika, for giving me a $1.99 tip. Thank you. I think that's called Super Chat. What up, Drunken Chef? Okay, so appreciate that, John. Can't wait to move out here. Let's see here. It's 90 in Chicago, but with the dew point, it feels like 97 and 7 at night. It's been hot at night. Like I've said this before in my other videos, building a pool, getting a house with a pool is pretty important in the summertime. In the winter, you're looking at your pool and you're like, I don't want to go in there. But springtime rolls around out here and you are ready for the pool. The pool is great. 105 in Charleston, South Carolina. That's absolutely nuts. Super expensive. I'm moving from Long Island and using a mover. Yeah, we talked about how affordable Arizona is in comparison to some of these other places. But if you guys are, if price is a real big thing, go to move to Detroit, because I heard you can get a pretty good house in Detroit. I'm saying, you know, it's even got me thinking, well, I could maybe live in Pennsylvania. I mean, big houses, 4-bedroom houses selling for $200,000, $185,000. You know, a 4-bedroom house in Phoenix is going to cost you $300,000. I don't know, but then I was like, I'd rather pay a little bit extra and live in Arizona. But now a 4-bedroom house in California is $800,000 in Los Angeles for the same quality. So yeah, I mean, we're kind of middle of the row with our housing costs. People say the prices are going up, but they keep building more houses, so it's kind of like they're keeping up with the demand. So I don't know if the supply isn't able to really catch up to the demand and force the prices to go up for homeowners like me. You know, I'm sitting here saying, when's my house going to go up in value, right? And if it goes up to a good enough price, would I sell and then go travel and wait for the market to correct and go back down again and then buy back in? I don't know. You know, that's how you're supposed to do the markets, as I learned with investing in Bitcoin. Okay, so moving to Tucson from Montana, what do you think wait. Someone said something about moving to Tucson, and I'm trying to get it. How much is land in Tucson? Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Moving from Tucson to Montana, what do you think the amount I should have to sit for a few months? You need about $4,000 a month out here to live comfortably. That's your target, $4,000 a month. you can spend more and you can spend less. I've used Amazon a lot. I mean, I don't think it matters where you're from. You're probably going to be using Amazon, but I found Amazon to be really useful. I've even started to use eBay a little bit for some of the more custom stuff. And then as far as shopping for furniture, if you're out here, some of the places that I went shopping for furniture that I would recommend, okay, believe it or not, you can get some really cool end tables for cheap at Ross, TJ Maxx. Okay, so I got my end tables from there after looking around, and then I got my wall art from on Amazon, and also I got some wall art from Bali. I should have got some stuff from Italy, some more stuff from Italy and Greece when I had a chance. But Ross, I got a lot of my wall art from Ross and Amazon. To be honest with you, you don't want to have just blank walls, right? You get flags on Amazon for like $9.99, any flag you want. Like trying to go around to any of these stores and find an Arizona flag can be difficult. You go on Amazon, Arizona flag, bam, I have an Arizona flag in my garage. Oh, is the live feed not working? Who are good home builders? Should I buy new or old? Good question. I would say that if you can get a 5-year-old house, that seems like the best thing because it's still new enough to not have too much of the issues, but it's already gone through like the warranty and all that and had everything really kind of checked out. And then they've also probably invested money into building that house or building the backyard. So if you can get a 5 to 10-year-old home, some house built into 2000s, I would say that might be a really good direction to go. When you buy a new house, yeah, you're getting a pretty good deal with all the most modern stuff like I got, but I didn't anticipate how much I was going to have to put into my backyard to build it. But the benefit of having a brand new house was I got to build it the way that I wanted to. Some people, they don't want anything to do with that kind of stuff. And it is a headache. Like when you're building it, it's going to be muddy. It's going to be you're going to deal with contractors. Some of them are going to do a good job. Some of them are going to break things and then they're going to not pick up their calls. Some of them will do it. Like I said, I mean, when you're dealing with contractors, it's a job all in of itself. I mean, you're basically general contract in your own backyard. All the people that I work with, I would recommend, but some of them I had to, there was times where I was like, hey dude, what's up? You gonna do that or what? You said you would, so that was what I bumped into. You gotta be friendly to them. You don't want to scare them away. Like I know some of my neighbors, they got too feisty and then they stopped picking up their phone and they didn't finish the job because the guy was being rude to them. So you got to respect the contractors when you're building stuff in your backyard. And, one of the things that I think contractors don't like is they don't like these people who are always calling for free estimates. So I know that's like the good thing for you, but it's not good for them because you're wasting their time. So when you're calling 4 different people, that means 3 of the people, you're going to take up their time and not pay them a penny. And so you're going to get your free estimates and get the best deal that you want, but you're going to waste 3 of the contractors' time. And I know some of you are going to say, well, that's their job. Well, yeah, but they got a lot of work out there that they got to do. And it's 110 degrees. They already got a tough enough job besides trying to sell you on something. So, I mean, I know it's kind of in your advantage to do that, but it's also taking advantage of contractors, in my opinion, from what I've heard from the feedback from them is don't waste their time. If you're going to get an estimate and you're genuinely thinking you're going to go with them, I would say, have enough respect for their career to not waste their time. I mean, we're talking tough knuckle dudes, people who are humping concrete, humping lumber, pounding nails, pounding concrete, doing all that stuff. They got a tough enough job as it is, for real. Yeah, I know about contractors. Don't waste their time. I usually get references from friends and family, says Peter Brown. Yeah, I mean, just asking your neighbors, like my neighbor over here, he's asking for concrete. I got a guy that I always recommend for concrete. He's going to him for concrete. Some people, even house cleaning services, like you get house cleaning services, that could be something that's kind of important, especially if you don't have time to house clean. For $100, it's worth it once a month to pay someone to clean your house. It's good because it's good for the economy. It helps the economy go around. Most of those girls or guys that are cleaning the house, they're in their early 20s. So and people in their early 20s need jobs too, right? So Neighbors do give the best recommendations. Yeah, they'll tell you who to steer clear from and who they've had good experiences with. But like I said, I mean, some of the neighbors that I've talked to, they get this attitude of like, well, it's their job to do that. I'm like, dude, you got a really good deal. They built a pool with a travertine deck for $35,000, and your pool is huge and it's beautiful. And you want this guy to, and I'm like, I even told him, I said, do you know how much he's making on this pool? And he said, yeah, I think about $5,000 is the contractor's profit. I'm like, yeah, but he's out here building your pool for 3 months. I'm like, I don't think it's worth his time. And especially if you're going to be rude to him like that, he's already doing you a favor. He's making a total of $5,000 on the job, general contracting it, taking on all that headache for $5,000 over the span of 3 months on a $36,000 pool. And, you know, he's under the impression that they're here to serve him, which I understand that. But at the same time, it's like, these are people too. And if you were in their shoes, would you want them to treat you like that when you're doing such an amazing job for them? Now, if you're doing a crummy job, you know, that contractor shouldn't be around. Yeah, be a nice customer. That's what Linda G says. I mean, yeah, be a nice person. It's contagious here in Phoenix. Like, I'm not saying go out, like, you have to. It's really kind of natural to just be nice and friendly to people out in Arizona. Even people from Chicago, who I know, from what I understand about people from Chicago, they have a really hard time getting along with people. And back east, they say, you know, like they call them. Someone was telling me they call people from Massachusetts MASS a-holes, mass holes. I was laughing, but I know that the people that I've talked to from Chicago were always really surprised at how friendly and social people are in Arizona compared to Chicago. And my theory behind why people are so friendly here opposed to the places they're moving from is, I think the heat, these are my two reasons. Because it's affordable. So you're not going to be like constantly stressed. Like in California, you got to pay $2,500 a month for your rent. That's a lot of money on top of all your electrical, on top of all your other bills, right? Electric and all this. That can create kind of a stress, because if you lose your job, how are you going to, so it kind of puts people in a bad way just with the cost of living. But then also the amount of sunshine. I think that just sunshine, vitamin D, makes people more happy. And because Arizona and Phoenix in particular, and Tucson has a lot of vitamin D and sunshine, I think that's why people are probably more friendly out here. Now, as far as like recreational activities, you know, you can go out to the lake, you can go out to the river, and in the summertime and cool off. Like, that's the thing to do on the weekends in Phoenix. Go to the water, whether it's a pool, a river, a lake, or big surf or a sun splash. I think Phoenix should build more water parks, like more water activities, because that's the best way to stay cool and keep the kids happy. Kids just want to go to these splash pads and all that. And we got 36 likes. Thanks to everyone who's been crushing up that like, and we'll keep going. If you guys want me to, smash the likes and we'll do it. If we don't get any more activity, then I'll take that as a sign to finish the live feed here, or I can keep going. But Sunsplash in Mesa is fun. Very fun. On the West Phoenix, there's a place that used to be our best place. It probably still is our best place, called Castles and Coasters, also known as Metro Center. Metro Center Mall used to be one of the best malls in Phoenix, but now it's so old. I mean, it's kind of like lost its grandeur. But on the west side, Metro Center, check it out. It's off I-17. People want to leave Pennsylvania. I'm looking for a new state to raise a family. Yeah, Morgan, I mean, Arizona is a very good state to raise a family as far as everything. Sports. I mean, we've got great soccer leagues, little leagues out here, YMCA, basketball. Kids are always just happier. And I feel like kids in Arizona are happier and they want to play outside than in other places. Because I see some kids, you know, they come out here, they're kind of like in their shell, but when they get here, they like bloom, they like blossom into like active kids all of a sudden, because they're out here. The weather's nice, except for in the summer. But even in the summer, about 6 o'clock at night, all the neighborhood kids come flying out, and they're all playing ball and shooting hoops and skateboarding and screaming and yelling, playing tag. And I think all kids are like that. But I've seen kids that come from other places, they move out here, they come out of their shell. So I think, yeah, this is a good place to raise kids, actually. Just outgoing kids. It's just when they get to the teenage years, what's going to entertain them. And so that's the thing. You guys are asking about Arizona. Is it a drug state? Is there a lot of people on drugs out here? And you could say there is kind of like that problem. Let's see, Renee. So Renee, yeah, I'll be okay. So Peter said something. I'm trying to keep up. There's a lot of comments. So Morgan, well, I'm thinking about Phoenix, Miami, or Boston metros. I'm sure all those are cool places to live. Is Miami a good place to raise kids? I don't know. Boston, I'm sure too. I mean, Boston's like all three of those are different places. Arizona being right in the middle, or Phoenix being in the middle of the desert. Miami being right on the base of the Caribbean, kind of a subtropical paradise with a lot of people. And then Boston being like cold in New England with oak trees and sycamore trees everywhere, whatever those trees are. You know, 4 seasons in Boston, right? Miami is probably not such a good place for kids. I hear you, man. Ted says he's lived in Miami for 12 years. Kyle says Tennessee is great too. What does your air conditioning bill look like, says Else. So like I was saying previously, so you're talking about my power bill. Last few months in May, my power bill was around $150. I was probably spending about $6 to $7 a day. SRP says it in the app. Right now, currently, I've been spending probably around 50. No, I'm sorry. Where am I getting 50? It's $250 is what my bill is projected to be at. But because I can see my daily readings, I can manage that. And I think most of it is coming from my air conditioning bill. So I know my air conditioning is working harder if I don't have my blinds closed or shutters closed. So if I black out my whole house and just use natural lighting, I actually save money. Or if I just use maybe a couple different lights, just at the time I'm home. If I'm not home, turning off the AC, but I keep it on 71, 70. I keep my house at 70. I've noticed that my house is uncomfortable at 72, so I keep it at 70. And so maybe I'm overusing my AC, but like I said, 250. But I have an energy efficient home, and I have those blacked out sunscreens. So something to keep in mind for you guys. It's a 1-story house. Yeah, that was the thing. My brother, who's a real estate agent, like I was telling you guys, he told me I wanted a 2-story house because I wanted to, have enough space to move people in and this and that. And he was like, "Oh no, don't get a 2-story house because it takes so much air to fill up the 2-story house that your bill will be a lot higher if you have a 2-story." And I started to notice, because in theory, you would think, oh, a 2-story house is great. Who wouldn't want to live in a big, old, spacious 2-story house? Well, here in this new community that they're building, they can't sell 2-story houses, but they sell the heck out of 1-story houses. And I wonder how much of it is that common understanding that 2-story houses are going to cost you more in power bills. But 2-story houses can be like mansions, these big old houses they build. I mean, 4-bedroom, 5 bedrooms with a family room and all that. Pretty cool, especially if you've got a lot of kids. Happy keeping the house at 78. Yeah, I don't know why my house doesn't, if it's 70, I set it at 72 and I start sweating. So I keep it at 70. Maybe something's wrong with my thing, but I keep it on 70. So no windows in this apartment. Terrible. No insulation too in the apartment. And my daughter keeps putting it on 75, says Renee. Well, where are you living, Renee? What's the average rent for a 2-bedroom, 2-bath? 2-bedroom, 2-bath condo, I would assume, because I don't think the houses are going to be that small. But a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, say in Tempe or Scottsdale, 2 different areas, 2 different price ranges. For rent in Scottsdale for a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, you could be looking at anywhere between $1,500 to $3,000 with an average of probably around $2,000. In Tempe, you could find a 2-bedroom, 2-bath probably starting at around $1,100 all the way up to around about $2,500, with the average probably being around $1,500 to $1,700. If you go to the West Valley and you're looking for a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, say Peoria, for example, if it's a condo, you could probably get them for around $1,100 to, on the high side, $1,800, $1,900. Glendale is going to be a little bit cheaper than all of those. Downtown Phoenix is going to probably be around the same price as Tempe, the Tempe quote that I gave. So around about on average $1,700 a month on the high side, up to, if you go towards like Biltmore or Arcadia, you could be looking at $3,000 a month. And if you're looking to stay in downtown Scottsdale, you could be paying $3,000 a month. It's pretty expensive in downtown Scottsdale. So I hope you bought the dip. Oh, crypto lock XRP. You're talking about Bitcoin. Man, there's been so many dips with that. Bitcoin, for those of you who don't know what Bitcoin is, it's a cryptocurrency. It's like a new form of asset class for money. But he's asking if when the price of Bitcoin went down, if I bought, and that's how you're supposed to do it. Because when you buy something, you don't want to buy sky high. It's like if you buy the top of the housing market when it's at its all-time high, the likelihood that it'll go down in price is high. So you're thinking that it's just going to keep on going for eternity, but what ends up happening is what goes up must come down at some point. And so he's talking about the dip is when it went down. So that's the time to buy. So the housing market in Arizona, the time to buy is when it goes down. The time to buy Bitcoin is when it goes down. Don't buy when it's going up, because that's what most people do. It's called FOMO, fear of missing out. So it's like people will come to Arizona and they'll say, wow, the housing market keeps going up in Arizona. So they're going to buy a house and they're going to buy it at an all-time high price because they think it's going to keep going up. And then all of a sudden, a year goes by and they get the county assessment and it says it's gone down $22,000 in value. And then they're like, oh my gosh, I've just incurred $22,000 debt on top of what, this and that. So you want to do the same thing with the housing market. You want to buy it when it's at a reasonable price. You don't want to buy it when it's reaching all-time high prices. And right now, the current Arizona market for buying a house is close to the previous all-time high that we saw before. So what we anticipate happening with the housing market is it to revisit its all-time high previously, because they've printed trillions of dollars in new money through quantitative easing and stuff through the Federal Reserve. You can look it up. It's called QE, quantitative easing. And they've printed that much trillions of dollars into circulation since the 2007 housing crisis. So it's reasonable to suggest that we'll revisit the all-time high for the previous housing market and then go beyond that. But once we start going parabolic or extremely beyond the previous all-time high, that's probably not the best time to buy a house. This is not financial advice. I mean, I always have to say that because, I'm talking to people, but I would say that the reason that I personally bought a house at this price or at this current all-time high is because I'm assuming that there's going to be more money printed through quantitative easing and more inflation, and that's going to lead to more all-time highs of housing prices. So my hope is that the economy stays strong. Right now, supposedly the economy is really strong, and I have reason to believe that it is strong. So with strong economy comes strong housing market in a place where everyone's trying, not everyone, but a lot of people are trying to move to Arizona. So I would suggest, I felt personally, it was a good time to still buy, but we could be in the next 1 to 2 years approaching bubble territory, housing bubble. But the way the Fed's managing that, the current housing market, they've learned from their previous mistakes. So who knows? We could be in a 10-year expansion of economy. They say we're already past due for a recession, but countries like Australia have seen massive expansion of their economy for like 15 to 20 years already. So why can't the United States also have a 15 to 20 year economic expansion? So 15 to 20 years since, say, 2008 would put us around about, I don't know. I mean, if we're just ballparking, anywhere between 2022, 2028. So you could say 2025 would be kind of the time that would, if we're still going strong by 2025, that might be the top of the market. You know what? I've been hearing a lot about Buckeye, and they say there are very nice homes out there, and every review I've heard about Buckeye has been positive. So Buckeye could be a thing. They're cheap homes and they're nice homes in Buckeye. The homes out here in Southeast Phoenix, where I live, in Santan Valley, Queen Creek area. I say that because I'm literally like on the border of Queen Creek and Santan Valley. I think that, yeah, you definitely get more bang for your buck in Buckeye. But it's West Phoenix. So you'd have to be really ambitious. You'd have to believe wholeheartedly that West Phoenix is going to be something someday, because it has never been something ever. Even when they built the Arizona Cardinals Stadium and they moved the Cardinals all the way out from Tempe to Glendale, it still didn't put West Phoenix on the map. So, yeah, West Phoenix, I mean, it's cool to some. I have friends out there. They probably don't like when I bash on their West Phoenix, but I'm trying to be like honest, right? I don't want to like say, oh, it's cool when it's not. So I'm saying it's cool in the sense that it's cool because it's for some people, but for the most part, West Phoenix, they have plans for it, but I don't know. I mean, I was impressed to see how far Buckeye had gone 20 years ago, because when you drive down to Puerto Penasco from Phoenix, you go to I-10 to the I-8, right? You take the I-8 down to Puerto Penasco or towards San Diego, and then you turn left again. You go through Ajo, and then you go into Sinaloa? Sonoya. It's not Sonora. Sonoya. You cross the border, just and I think called Y, Y, Arizona. Ajo is a mining town. But we always, every time we would drive to Puerto Penasco, we would go through Buckeye. And I mean, it's no man's land out there. And then you go to Gila Bend. It's kind of like, for those of you who go to Gila Bend or been to Gila Bend, like 20 years from now, someone saying, hey, I'm moving to Gila Bend. You might be like, really? You're moving to Gila Bend? To anyone who's ever been to Gila Bend, please drop a comment below and share your thoughts on Gila Bend. But that's what Buckeye used to be. Buckeye was the Gila Bend of Phoenix. But because urban sprawl went so far out there, Buckeye put together a massive building project in the early 2000s, and they stuck with it. And now they're building really cheap homes that are really nice homes. And actually, White Tank Mountains, I've seen a lot of pictures in our Living in Arizona group, the Facebook group, where people have posted pictures from the White Tanks of wildlife and all sorts of beautiful scenery from being out there. So maybe the White Tanks aren't as ugly as we thought they were. I would still say the Usury Mountains or Superstition Mountains and the McDowell Mountains are more beautiful than the White Tanks, but the White Tanks are the West Phoenix Mountains. They seem to be pretty nice from what I've been seeing. Okay. Renee says, I just don't like running out for everything. I'm a homebody. Okay, if you're a homebody, moving out to a suburb and you rely on Amazon or Amazon Fresh or Amazon Prime, it might be a concern, because even Uber Eats, like, new suburbs take time to develop, so they don't have that infrastructure. I mean, we have delivery pizza, but are you going to eat delivery pizza every night, or do you want delivery Indian food? Do you want delivery Chinese food? Do you want delivery your favorite steakhouse or roadhouse? I don't know, because you're saying you're a homebody. Do you want Amazon Fresh? For example, here in Santan Valley, Queen Creek, Amazon Fresh does not deliver out here. And when I first moved out here, because it was such an up-and-coming community, a lot of things weren't available out here because it was so new. But here's the caveat. After 1 year living here in this area, things are now starting to happen. We've had so many people move out here, it can no longer be considered under the radar. So now it's gotten the attention of a lot of these big companies, you know, the big corporations who build things. First, it starts with the builders. The builders put together a plan, and then they go to their corporate friends and they say, do you want to build a Lowe's here? Do you want to build a Fry's here? Do you want to build a Safeway, a Walmart, a Target? And then the next thing you know, you've got these big complexes, these big shopping centers, and they're all brand new, but they have everything you could possibly imagine. And that's kind of what's coming out here, which is going to further urbanize and modernize this area. It's terrible for people who moved out here 15 to 20 years ago saying, I'm moving out to Santan Valley and Queen Creek to get away from the big city. Well, in 15 to 20 years, boom, here comes the big city swallowing it up like a haboob. You know, the haboobs are those big dust storms, those big dust clouds you see in the monsoons. So, yeah, I mean, these areas, they grow and they grow fast. So if you're one of those type of people who think that you're moving to an area that's out of the path of the urban sprawl, think again. You got to be really far out there. You might be moving out to Casa Grande saying, oh, I like it out here because it's away from everyone. It's just a matter of time before Casa Grande becomes a part of. It's either going to be Tucson Metro or Phoenix Metro are going to both swallow up Casa Grande. I mean, Maricopa popped out of nowhere. Buckeye popped out of nowhere. Santan Valley, Florence, Coolidge, all this area 20 years ago before I went in the military, There's nothing out here. This was just some small towns, some farming towns with fields. Nothing out here. Now it's part of the city. So if you need to be out of the city and you don't want to be in the city, you want to be out of it all. Go to the outskirts where the mountains are, because the mountains, they don't really build up the mountains. The most common areas they build the urban sprawl are on the low-lying flat areas in the valleys. The valleys are where they build, because all it takes is they plow over a couple sage bushes, a couple tumbleweeds, and carve out the ground, and then they build. It's not like Boston or Washington where they got to cut down a bunch of trees and get rid of a bunch of roots and deal with all this mud. Out here, it's just so easy to build. You just blow over a couple bushes, replant a couple cactuses, transplant a tree, and you've got a whole master plan community of 80 homes that you're about to build over the next. That's how the builders look at it. And in most of these cases, because they're already fields that are here, they're just clearing fields, and fields are really easy to build on. Recommend Gilbert versus Queen Creek. I think Gilbert has more to do, but it's more expensive. So a home in Queen Creek might go for $318,000. That same home in Gilbert's $380,000. Same kind of deal. But Queen Creek is growing. Actually, Queen Creek's kind of anemic. Where they're actually getting most of their growth from is Santan Valley, and they keep annexing Santan Valley into their city limits. So what you would think is Santan Valley 10 years from now could end up actually being a part of Queen Creek, because Queen Creek's got 20,000 people that live in Queen Creek. And then in Santan Valley, there's 100,000 people. So, but Santan Valley is not considered a city. Queen Creek is. Queen Creek's in Maricopa County. Santan Valley is in Pinal County, two different counties. So it's a little bit of a conundrum. But Gilbert is a big established Queen Creek. It's what Queen Creek area is going to be in 20 years, 10 years. It depends on how fast this economy, or how strong the economy grows, because that'll affect how much growth can actually occur out here. If Queen Creek stays strong, or if the economy stays strong and the growth still happens, Queen Creek could look like Gilbert in 10 years. And then Gilbert will look like a better Chandler or a better Tempe. Gilbert's a really exciting place to be. I mean, it's made a name for itself. But I think that because Chandler used to be better than Gilbert, Tempe used to be better than Gilbert, but now the tides have turned where Gilbert has taken over what Mesa and Chandler once had. Now Gilbert's the place to be. I think at some point, Queen Creek, Santan Valley will be the new Gilbert of the time. So that Queen Creek, Santan Valley could eventually end up being better place to live than Gilbert. I would say some things to keep an eye on would be if they if they try to build a stadium out here for one of the pro sports teams, the Cardinals, Diamondbacks, Suns, or the Coyotes. If they do any of that out in the Southeast Valley, that'll really solidify that. Also, the airport, Mesa Phoenix Gateway International Airport, if they build that up, say, make it into what Burbank is to LAX, but for Sky Harbor, if they really keep building out the terminal at Mesa Gateway International Airport, that would be an indication that that big things are coming to Queen Creek and Santan Valley. That's my anticipation from someone who lives out here. But as of right now, it's probably better to live in Gilbert than it is to be in Santan Valley for many reasons. But it costs more. The only benefit to being in Queen Creek or Santan Valley is you're going to save money. That's it. But the things to do are in Gilbert. Gilbert's got all this stuff to do. I would love to know when the next recession will occur. Wall Street is on a tear right now. Yeah, I mean, I didn't even check my phone. How's Wall Street doing today? I mean, everything's up. All markets, every market I'm checking seems to be just. The one stock that I've been looking at is this one called Beyond Meat. There's a YouTuber on. There's a guy on. Dr. Campbell. Do you guys know Dr. Campbell? He was saying, I was watching one of his things with a couple other medical people who were saying that meat. I eat meat. You know, I've eat meat probably every meal. Like that's what I know. I was raised on milk, right? But there's people out there saying that milk or meat is actually bad for you. And so there's a stock on Wall Street called Beyond Meat, BYND. My friend told me to buy into it, and she was right. Yeah, I was like, oh no, I'm not doing fake meat. But I could see, I mean, there's a lot of people out there who say that meat is bad and that these alternative meat products. I was looking at the market cap. It's at now a $10 billion market cap. I was trying to compare it against like Kroger or Hostess or something like that. Morgan says, what? The stock market is doing great right now? Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of money that they've printed also, so it's pretty easy to reach all-time highs when there's a lot more money in the circulation. Never tried Beyond Meat. I never tried it either. But they said, like, I think there's a little bit of FOMO happening with Beyond Meat stock, fear of missing out, where people think that like it's the future. It's kind of like what happened with Uber, or like everyone was excited for Uber to come out, but Uber waited. But if Uber would have IPO'd like a year ago, they probably would have done a lot better than they did. Even 3 years ago, if Uber IPO'd 3 years ago, they would have done better than if they IPO'd now. But yeah, you guys are talking about Wall Street. Most of you guys are like, Arizona, please. No more Wall Street talk. 3D printed meat. CNBC has been talking about it a lot lately. Okay, so you guys know about this farming phenomenon. I heard people saying that some of these companies are growing meat on a stick. Okay, so the first thing I heard was they were growing chickens without feathers because to pluck all the feathers was difficult. So some of that chicken that we're eating is featherless chickens, which you're like, oh, that's not natural. I don't know if that's very good. So that's when I started thinking maybe meat, like, okay, if it's a free range elk, that's probably healthy for you. Okay. But if it's a chicken that was grown without feathers and it only took 2 weeks from egg to harvest, I don't really know if that's healthy because we don't know what kind of GMO, genetically modified organism that is really. Y'all know what expensive is. AZ rent is better than NYC. Seattle, NJ, DMV area. Plus AZ has better weather, says Tiffany. So she's saying you guys don't know what expensive is until you live up in NYC, or we've seen it in California too. Honest thoughts on Maricopa. There's only one road to get out there. So when there's a car accident in Maricopa, good luck trying to get the heck out of Maricopa. So you have to be, if you're moving to Maricopa, you got to be really content with the fact that Maricopa has everything you need any given Sunday or any given day that ends in Y. Maricopa's, if they built at least a second road coming in and out of Maricopa, probably a great idea. And I think that'll come. They can't build roads fast enough. I mean, this is why construction labor is in such high demand out here, because there's so much growth happening that they might have just barely enough laborers to keep building the houses, but there's like a shortage of laborers for the roads or for the commercial infrastructure. So what could end up happening is they build the homes. They say, okay, the people live there. Now we focus on the roads. But they're trying to do everything at the same time because as they're building and moving all these people into, say, Queen Creek, Santan Valley, the roads swell up, like so much traffic, so many new people coming out here. Even when the snowbirds come into town, that even just doubles the traffic. Like it feels like it doubles the traffic on the road just when the snowbirds come back from Canada and back east, because these snowbirds from Canada, they can't handle the Arizona this summer heat right now, rightfully so. I mean, if you're coming from back east or way up there in the higher northern part of the United States, man, it is hot out here, and that's why they do the snowbird stuff, where they live here in the winter, but they leave for the summer. Probably 4 months out of the year are really painful. Like, no, I would say 3 months, June, July, and August. But you could throw early September and late May into that if you really wanted to. But when the snowbirds come back, that just adds so much more pressure onto the roads. And the first thing all the locals out here are saying is, when are they going to build the new road? And so Maricopa is a place that has an issue with just having one road. And I don't even know if is it 4 lanes? Can't remember. But Yeah, that's my thought on Maricopa's. They need another road in there before I really sign off on Maricopa. Do you know why it's so cheap for houses out there? Out here? Yeah, well, because the land's cheap, because it's desert. It's desert land. So to build, it's a lot more affordable to build, and the land is more affordable. That's the two reasons. Whereas California, the land's more expensive because it's people want to move to California. So there's, but at some point, Arizona is going to reach a peak, like we were talking about, an all time high, where it's gonna be overbought, it's going to be oversold, and then it's going to have to come back down to reality again. So that's what they call a bubble, and Arizona will reach a bubble again, most likely. I mean, and that'll be that it'll get overcrowded, and then they'll start driving up the prices like they did in other places like New York or Los Angeles, and then the prices will come. The people who bought high will be very disappointed. They'll be very sad because they'll see their wealth deteriorate, and the price of their homes will go down, and they'll have to sit there in their home for the next 10 years and wait for the market to recover and the Fed to print more money into circulation to catch up to modern inflation. Oh yeah, Renee says for sure the traffic doubles. I mean, and it's not even the population doubling; it's just the amount of cars on the road just becomes so much more that it feels like you feel it on Halloween or Thanksgiving. It's probably Thanksgiving. That's when you really know the snowbirds are back. That's when you really see them. It's like the snowbirds come back either on Halloween time frame or the Thanksgiving, but it seems like mostly Thanksgiving. And by then you're just like, where did all these people going to someone's house? And then you're like, no, it's the snowbirds. They're back. All right. Are scorpions a big problem around Gilbert? There can be. There can be some scorpions in Gilbert. There can be scorpions anywhere. You guys want me to keep going? Smash up the likes. If you guys are done, we're done. It's been an hour and 6 minutes. I can keep going. I have no problem. I don't need to go to the store for another 30 minutes. I was going to go to the grocery store. It's plus I'm waiting. It's 5:53, so I'm waiting for it to cool down just another 5 or 10 more degrees. Maybe 5 degrees is realistic. It's 5:53 at night, so it's kind of. But if you guys want me to keep going, smash up the likes. That'll be my indicator. We're at 59. Maybe some of you guys are already bored. I don't know. 60. I see some comments saying keep going. Is it true every house comes with a gun? No. No. I don't know how comfortable I am with everyone having guns out here also. Because like some of these people, they get these guns and they think that they'll hear a noise and then they'll shoot someone. So, if you're one of those types of people that's just, you go out, say you go walking your dog. Well, let's say someone's a nervous wreck. They got a gun because they're trying to protect themselves, but you're walking your dog at 11 o'clock at night, just walking your dog literally, and their car alarm goes off. They come out of their house thinking they're being robbed and they got a gun. They could be irrational. So I don't know. I know that a lot of people think that owning guns is a great thing and that there shouldn't be this strict law. But you look at the news and you look at how some of these people that shouldn't have guns just, use their guns because they try to hide behind this idea that, oh, I thought it was self-defense. I mean, we've even seen stories where a dad kills his son because he thought he was a home intruder with a gun, or a grandma who kills her grandson because they thought it was a home intruder with a gun. So, I mean, this obsession with guns, it's a deadly weapon. And yeah, it's better to have it and not need it. But there's some people out there that I don't know that I necessarily want to have guns. And, these people with the road rage, you'll see it on the news where people get into these road rage situations and they use their gun in a road rage situation and they claim self-defense. So be careful who you get road raging with because they got guns out there. Now, some of you are like, yeah, that's what I want. I want them to be scared and not try to start stuff with me and my family because I might have a gun. Well, yeah, until, it's turned on you and they think that you're the guy that they want to go after. I haven't personally had any experience with that, but I've seen it on the news. And it makes me concerned about who has guns around me, honestly. How do I reply to someone to help me? For what? Why isn't Arizona ranking higher in the best states to live? U.S. News and World Report's Wallet Hub. Okay, theory. This is just a theory. I don't know. But I've noticed that the places that in the United States that they say are the best places to live, they'll be like Bismarck, North Dakota, Rowley, North Carolina, uh, Podunk, Tennessee, blah, 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 Oklahoma. Or, like if you look at the list, you're like, really? Detroit's on the list ahead of Arizona or Phoenix? Last I heard, people are trying to leave Detroit to move to Phoenix, but some Detroit suburbs on the list ahead of Gilbert. And someone was saying that there's a little bit of political agenda involved in that from the census. So the census wants people to move to some of these places like Podunk, North Dakota, and Joe Blow, South Dakota, because they're trying to, spread people out, get them out of California. So it's like, you'll notice like some of those lists won't even have a California place on there. Clearly, California is a great place to live if you can afford it. And back before it was super overpopulated, California was like the dream come true. It was one of the best places on earth to live, but now it's overpopulated. So, the census might be like, we got too many people over here. We need to raise the price of rent and force them out. That's what they do. They use money is like a form of social engineering. They can raise the prices of something to force people out, to spread out to other places. They're like, hey, shoo, you can't afford to live here. You go somewhere else. It's how money can be used for social engineering or demographic engineering. Phoenix has an amazing job market, says Katie. Conservative states are by far the best, says Tiffany. Adam says, would you buy a house for $250,000 in Maricopa beyond the road? I'm looking to move out there. I mean, how big is the house? When was it built? I haven't seen the house. I mean, it's going to depend on the house. $250,000 for a house is a pretty good price. I would say so. When are you getting a house tour, says Ted? Probably later. We can do a house tour sometime. Feather Spirit says, dirty knobs in the 60 people on the south side. I don't know what that means. Eric says, nailed it. Social engineering. 5-bed, 3-bath. For $250,000 in Maricopa, that's a good deal. But have you looked at the Google Maps to see how far away you are from, if you're moving out to Maricopa, that's really far out there. Go look on the map about how far away it is from everything, from your work in particular. If you got to drive every day, but if there's nothing, if you're just a homebody and you don't really work and you don't need to be close to your job or you work from home, Maricopa could work out for you pretty good, especially at that price. It's probably a good deal. But if you work in, say, Tempe and you're living in Maricopa, heck no. It's not worth the headache. It's not worth the headache. Saving a couple bucks. It's like what I always do with GoPros. Like my very first camera I bought was like a cheap Alibaba underwater camera, and I ended up double paying because I ended up eventually just getting the GoPro to begin with. So I'm saying, like, sometimes paying extra can save you headaches and save you money, because you end up losing money doing what you eventually should have done the first time because you were trying to pinch pennies. So it's kind of like Gilbert and Queen Creek. Someone was asking about that earlier. It's like, it might be worth it to pay the extra money and move to Gilbert. Unless you're a homebody. If you're a homebody and saving money is a good thing, then move out to Santan Valley and Queen Creek. If you said to me, Queen Creek, Santan Valley, or Maricopa, where would I go? Well, you're not going to get that same kind of price home in Santan Valley or Queen Creek, because it's going to be about 10 to 15% higher in this area. But I would pay the extra 10 to 15% and not live in Maricopa. The gun thing can happen any place. My ex and son, who was 5, had a road rage, point a gun at him in Chicago suburbs. Oh yeah. No, it can happen anywhere in the United States. I mean, guns are a constitutional right that people have, the right to bear arms. It's that in Arizona, it's a concealed carry state. Okay. So in California, for example, you're technically only allowed to, from what I remember when I had guns, because I had, all sorts of guns, 30-06, 22, Smith & Wesson, shotgun. I remember I had to carry them in my trunk. I couldn't carry them in my under my passenger seat or anything like that. So if I was going out shooting in the mountains, I would have to have them in my trunk, and the magazine would have to be detached from the gun. And so in Arizona, there's people out there who wear it on the hip. So, I mean, it's different. It's different. The best area in Mesa is clearly Eastmark, and Gilbert's master plan neighborhoods are closer to 202 freeway and the gun thing again. What about the gun thing? Says Ken Ray. Yeah, Eastmark is gorgeous. East Mesa is gorgeous. The closer you are to the Superstition Mountains, beautiful, just great. I'm planning to move to AZ. Do you think Tucson or Casa Grande is a good family place to live? I think Tucson's a really good place to live. I would live in Tucson over Casa Grande. I like Tucson because if you don't like wildlife, like if you don't like coyotes, you don't like bobcats, mountain lions, Harris hawks, owls, all that stuff, birds of prey, because an owl, a hawk can take your cat. There's big birds of prey that will come down. Like you never know if you don't see your cat for 2 weeks, you don't know if he's been hit by a car, taken by a hawk, eaten by a coyote, eaten by a it's a coyote, but we call them coyotes out here, or yoti, or a bobcat or a mountain lion. I mean, you don't know. And I'm saying I have a cat right here. He's an indoor cat. You don't go outside. He knows when the door opens, he doesn't get to go out there. And if he does, it's a big pandemonium. But my dog goes out there, and I do worry. I hear coyotes out here. You know, there's desert plots in between there, across there, and I hear the coyotes going, you know, yelping and hollering. And so this has been a long live feed, hour and 16 minutes. I don't know. You guys think we're done here? I think we might be. So thanks to everyone who's liked the video, and we will see you next time. Join our group, Living in Arizona. I will post a link again right here. Join that group. Keep up with us there. If you missed this live feed and you didn't get asked the question that you want to ask, yeah, my cat probably wants to go outside too. We'll see you guys next time. But if you join that group, you can ask the questions in there. People are always answering questions. And it's not just people who are thinking about moving here. It's locals. There's locals in that group. Some of you guys, even in the audience, are locals watching this video who like to help out. So see y'all. Thank you.